Welcome to the Salt Lake Fitness Podcast, Salt Lake Pod for short. I'm Nat.
And I'm Christy. And this is your space for salty stories, sweaty workouts, and improving crew sanity at sea. Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Salt Lake Fitness Podcast. Today, we are joined by a very special guest. We have Tom Jones in the studio. Tom is an ex-British Marines Commando, super yacht crew in the security industry, and co-owner of, you guessed it, Salt Lake Fitness. So welcome today, Tom. We're very excited to talk to you and learn all about your story.
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome on board, Tom. Isn't that quite an ironic way of saying welcome? I mean, talking about yachts, here we are on board with Tom Jones.
I think the most interesting thing about it will be the fact that me and Christy are about 10 meters apart, but in different rooms in the house. So
I wasn't going to mention it, but
I think that's my favorite thing about this podcast. I'm literally like thousands and thousands of miles away from you two, and then you two are literally 10 meters away from each other.
well, we did think we'd do it sitting next to each other, but then I thought it might be a bit weird if it, looks like I'm just talking to Christy the whole time, like I'm sat on her lap sort of thing. It'd be weird.
You on my lap, that makes perfect sense. One day, maybe when we have a proper Salt Lake podcast studio, we can do some in-person chats. There we go. So let's get right into it. We want to know all about your story. Let's take it right back to before you joined the yachting industry. Your background as a British Royal Marines Commando. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but tell us all about that. I understand it certainly shaped who you are today.
Yeah, so I obviously went to school in the UK, brought up in the UK, and I left school and didn't have any grades whatsoever. So I wanted to carry on playing rugby. So I thought the best thing I could do was join the military and get paid to play rugby. I thought I'd pick something pretty hard to do, join the Royal Marines Commandos. And for those that don't know, it's 32 weeks of basic training, longest basic training in the world, before you then become a commando at the end of it. Got to the end of it and stayed there for nearly 8 years. On a serious note, it was fantastic. It was exactly what I needed at the time. Went there having no structure whatsoever in my life. And to be honest, I dread to think what my life would have looked like without it. It shapes me into the fine, upstanding member of society that I am today. No, it was a good thing for me. And it was hard. It was tough. Made some great friends, traveled all over the world.
I've got a question about your commando training because I know nothing about this, okay? What was the hardest part about the 32 weeks?
All of it. It was all rubbish.
Every single day.
So I heard you say before, Tom, that you called it basic training.
Yeah.
Basic is an interesting word to use. What's involved in this basic training?
So the idea of it is to completely break you down from the person you were as a civilian. They get you to Lympstone Training Centre in Devon. They'll shave your head. You'll all dress the same in the same military fatigues, and you would do exactly the same thing as a unit of guys. We started with 60 odd people when I first went into basic training. When we got to week 32, there were 13 original guys left. So it's a very high attrition rate. A lot of the time that is down to a lot of it's down to luck. A lot of people just get injured along the way and then get back trooped onto a course which is coming through. They might have to wait a couple of months to get rehabilitated or something like that. And then there's the other stack of guys that just don't make the grade, unfortunately, and they get told to do one. But yeah, it was all really hard. Like I went to Royal Marines training with it in my head that if I couldn't go home unless I'd done it. My pride would not let me go home and tell people that I failed, basically. I mean, God knows if I'd failed, I would have just had to, I don't know, disappear to the jungle or something like that, and just never see anyone ever again. Like I said, there's an element of luck making it all the way through unscathed, and I consider myself pretty lucky to not get injured along the way. But at the same time, it really does separate people in areas of like being robust and stuff like that. If you're robust enough to go through it all, then you'll be just fine. There wasn't a day I woke up and thought, I don't want to fucking be here, this is shit. But again, my mindset was like, I can't go home and tell people I failed, so I had to do it. So yeah, that was it. It was all hard.
That's really interesting. Do you think that your mindset and how you're so disciplined was one of your lucky factors? I don't think it's luck. I think it's just your motivation and your mindset and your discipline to be able to commit to this.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, going into Royal Marines training, I had no idea what my mindset was made of. You don't really know until you're pushed to your limit what your limit is, do you? So I had to go through that to, really understand where my limit was. And I'm not even sure I've really found it now, but I know, if I can do that, I can pretty much, get through most things.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty crazy what you can push your body to do. It's all mental.
No, you're 100% right. You can go as fit as you want into something like that, but if you haven't got the mental strength, then you won't get through. It really is, I would say 80-90% of it it's in your head. If you can be broken easily and you're fit, you won't pass the tests. If you are very average physically, as I was when I joined, and it turns out I had a pretty decent head, pretty decent mindset, you'll do all right.
Going into that, Tom, with the mindset of I can't quit. I will finish this. That wasn't an option for you, or you didn't give yourself that option mentally. I wonder if that was one of the deciding factors that really pushed you through. Whereas if people are going in like, I'm just going to give it my best shot and see what happens, essentially they've already failed, right?
Absolutely. So I remember a piece of advice that my friend Magsy said to me. He was already in the Marines before I joined, and he said, if you are not 100% on doing this, if there is an ounce of doubt in your head, you won't pass. You need to go into this knowing this is exactly what you want to do, because if it's not, you'll have that doubt in your head, and it will just, that 1% of doubt will grow into 2%, 3%, 4%. Before you know it, you're on your ass.
There's another question. When it comes to that mindset you had, and I don't mean this in any bad way, and I hope you don't take it the wrong way. Do you think that you had that mindset because you had nothing to go back to in terms of, because you'd finished school, didn't really have a good outlook on your own future? Do you think that's what it was?
100%. I I would have had to go back to working on a building site before I did that, and that's honestly that's probably where I'd be today if I hadn't done that. And I just couldn't face going back and doing that. I remember before I joined the Marines, I was playing rugby in Canada, and it was semi-professional rugby. But on the same breath, I had a daytime job as well as a concrete layer. And when the concrete wasn't pouring because it was icy in Canada, we were shoveling snow. And I remember clear as day, I was pushing this bloody shovel across this forecourt of this petrol station that we had to, sort out. And I remember pushing it, and my feet were piss wet. They were absolutely piss wet. My hands were wet. It was probably about -5 outside, and I was so fucking miserable. And I remember thinking, I was like, this is not the one. This is not something I can do. And I'd fully planned to leave Vancouver and go straight into the Marines, and that sort of stuck with me. That definitely stuck with me. The mindset that I don't want to be going back to something that I don't enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got a clear picture of your youth, your younger years, playing rugby, then joining the Marines. It's obviously all very physical, shoveling snow. So you've obviously got a great physical background, and then being in the Marines obviously built that mental strength up a lot. And then transitioning from being a Royal Marine to the yachting industry, that doesn't sound like a very natural progression to me. How on earth did you end up on yachts?
It wasn't. I joined the yachting industry. I didn't even know what a yacht was. So here's a good one. So I left the Marines, and like like all good leavers of the Marines do, they're like, I'm going to go out and make loads of money. And bearing in mind, as a young Marine, you're only making 25 grand a year sterling, and is a slog. You're doing what's asked of you. You're not getting paid anything. You're getting paid pittance. And I remember I've managed to jack up this job interview with something called NPC car parks, right? And the job was, I think it was 35 grand a year. And for me, I'd never seen that kind of money. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be absolutely loaded. 5 grand a year. This is amazing. And bearing in mind, this is 35 grand before tax. So I'd probably take home, what, like 31, 30, if that. And I don't know where I was really going with this, but I remember
Wait, MPC car parks.
yeah. So MPC car parks didn't get the job, and I thought, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And so I'd left, didn't really have any idea what I was going to do. I was working on the building site, and all of a sudden, I got a call from a good friend of mine, Mickey, and he was like, Jonesy, mate, what are you doing at the moment? I was like, well, I tell you what I'm doing, mate. I'm working my ass off. It's freezing cold. I'm on a building site. It's like, well, can you get to Hamburg next Thursday? And I was like, okay. And he's like, have you ever thought about working on a yacht or anything like that? It's like, no. I'm not really, you're not even really sure what a yacht is. I imagined it was like a sail yacht. I thought it was going to be like a 20-meter sail yacht with a mast, a sail, and I was like, what the fuck am I going to do on that? Do you know what I mean?
It wasn't a 20-meter sail yacht.
No, it was 138 meter flying fox, and I had to go to Hamburg for this interview. And
that is so casual. Yep, just gonna rock up to 138 meter. I've never been in yachting before. Here I am.
I went to the interview. I didn't even have a suit. To be honest, I got the suit I had from when I was in sixth form at school, and it looked like I was going to court. It was ridiculous. It looked like I was wearing my dad's suit. Honestly, it was ridiculous.
Well, was it a 3-piece?
No, should have worn a tuxedo, shouldn't I?
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah, I got the job. I managed to bluff my way through the interview, and someone gave me a job. So happy days.
It's just interesting that you had to do your interview in person for that. So did you join straight away, or did you go back home and like recoup, organize your stuff, do your certificates, or was it just like you had your interview and you stepped on the boat?
So I went to Hamburg, did the interview, and a few weeks later, I went off to Lursen shipyard in, I don't know how many of you been there, but Lemwerder it's an interesting place. Pootled off there, and that was me. I spent about a year in the shipyards whilst Fox was being built, and then we went out to sea, and that's the only yacht I've ever been on. I spent nearly, what was it, 5 years on Fox? 5 years? Yeah.
No.
That was it.
Wait, you're a one yacht wonder.
He's a one yacht wonder.
No ways, Tom! I never knew this. You crazy man!
Hang on, never say never.
I came into the industry late. I was like 30 years old when I joined the industry. I couldn't believe it. I went from the Royal Marines, which is a completely male environment. There are no females in the Marines. They just don't have them in the Marines, and it's an all male infantry unit. Going to a yacht it blew my mind. I was surrounded by like 20-year-old hot South Africans, hot like Australians. It was like a kid. I was like a kid in a sweet shop. It was ridiculous. I didn't know where to look. And the best thing about it was like you've got so we had a security team on board of what was it, 5 Marines and a paratrooper, and we're all cut from the same cloth, all love going to the gym, only training biceps and wearing
Yes.
tight t-shirts even when it's freezing cold. And I remember we got him introduced to the crew, and the instant dislike from the deck department was hilarious. They were like, they've come here and they've stolen our women. I don't know if Billy will be watching this, but Billy's an absolute legend. He was the bosun at the time, and I think he had a soft spot for us. He was top bloke. But yeah, we ended up getting I think we got on pretty well with the deck team in the end. Maybe they didn't like us, but yeah,
Tell us in the comments, guys.
Yeah. Were you
we
jealous of Tom and the security team, or were you guys okay about this?
I think it was probably just in my head. Taking our women, taking our jobs.
Looking too sexy. What is this?
I don't know about that bit. I think we were the only ones that thought we were sexy.
Can confirm. Looked sexy.
Fair one.
I think the security team were too busy trying to kiss each other rather than kiss the rest of the crew.
Well, for those yachties out there that don't know, security teams aren't super common on all vessels. It's more common for an owner to have a security team that travels with them. But on the larger vessels, I'd say maybe 90 and above meters, it's getting more and more common for security teams to, exist on board, full-time security teams, especially with everything going on in the world. So can you explain to those yachties out there that might not know, what does a security team do on a vessel of that size?
So essentially, your job as a security team member on board is the main priority is looking after the vessel and its crew. So a lot of that involves like access control, really, boring stuff, people coming on and off the boat, but also essential in the security world because you need to know who is on and off the boat. But we were very fortunate that the owner of the vessel required a close protection team, and all of us on the security team had our close protection license. So that meant we all did a relatively similar course back in the UK, where you essentially train to become a bodyguard. Sounds pretty naff saying that, bodyguard, but that's what you're doing. You're looking after the best interests of the client. And yeah, it was great. I've got zero complaints about my job role on Vox. It really was the making of me, and yeah, I haven't got a bad word to say about it, to be honest. I got to go and experience some things that I'd never ever get to do, flying over these insane mountains in Croatia in helicopters and stuff. Like the rest of the crew don't get to do this. They get to cover up and mop the floor and make beds and cook and stuff like that, whilst we're off gallivanting with the guests in Capri and doing all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, my past life as a Royal Marine allowed me to do that. It wasn't just luck of the draw that I got to do that job. I'd trained for the last 8 years to do that, albeit not being in the yachting industry, but in a capacity which allowed me to then step into that security role. So it wasn't by fortune that I was there. I like to think I'm all right at what I do. Other people might say different, but I think I'm all right.
I think if you stayed somewhere for more than 5 years or somewhere for 5 years, that longevity shows you're doing a really good job and you are good at what you do. So knowing that, not even knowing your background, I would say you are good at what you do. Otherwise, you would have got the sack already. So I don't think you need to worry about that.
It wasn't just the security role on board. We were only part of that close protection team when the boss or guests were on. The other half of the job was working with the deck guys, and we were cutting our teeth as deckhands, which I'm not going to lie, it presented problems on its own. It's a strange dynamic. You've got a bunch of 30-year-old blokes coming on as a security detail. We've already lived a life. We've already done things that most people don't get to do or don't have to do, and then you're putting them in a job role where they are essentially the same as a 19-year-old deckhand. It sometimes doesn't translate as well as it could do. And you know what? Put my hands up. There were times that I probably could have been a little bit more forthcoming with what I was asked to do, but essentially I was learning a brand new role and wearing 2 hats, and then asked to wear a 3rd hat as a PT as well. It was definitely a baptism of fire, because you go there thinking you know it all, and then you actually don't know shit, and you have to become part of the crew, which is probably the most important part of it, getting on with everyone else.
It's such a learning curve when you come on board. On the boats that I work on that have a really good team environment, you understand the hierarchy, but you all work the same. It's like my chief officer will come and work on deck and scrub the teak just like I will, just like the junior deckhand will. And it's really interesting how it just forms, but then in a space where there has to be respect to those hierarchy, you kind of give it to them. So when you have these youngsters on these big boats, especially on big boats, I'm generalizing here, they don't really have that respect sometimes. And I think that's maybe what could be difficult when you transitioning into that role. When you're coming on and you're helping these guys, it's not necessarily your role. You can give them a hand, but your main role is security, right? That is your main role. And you're giving them a hand, and then they start being cheeky with you and, saying some shit that they shouldn't say. It can be quite difficult. How did you deal with that?
Do you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, and I like the way you said, you've worked on boats where the chief officer mucks in and stuff like that, because I really do think you have to lead by example. If you're in a certain role and you carry a position with a bit of weight, then leading by example is probably the most important thing. Dealing with the younger deckhands, I actually quite liked it because it made me feel like I'm again. I think we actually dealt with that quite well, because in the military, it's very similar. If you're on Civvy Street, you generally hang around with people of the same age as you because you went to school with them, or you're in the same age group as them, just growing up. But in the military and like yachting, you, as whatever age you are, you're asked to hang out with a bunch of people that you don't really have anything in common with these people at all. You're just put in a room on a boat with these people, and regardless of how old they are, you get on with them. So that's what, I really love that, because I think if I was hanging around with a lot of other people my age, I'd probably be even more boring than I am now. But hanging around with the young kids, is awesome. It keeps you young.
Yeah.
I remember one lad in particular, or two young deckhands that really made an impression on me. And I think they're absolutely amazing blokes. One is Zach Thomas, absolute legend. He left yachting for a bit. He was like, do you know what? I need to do more than be a deckhand, and hopefully you guys will get him on at some point. He's an amazing bloke. He went and did his engineering officer to watch ticket, and he left Fox for about 5 years, then came back on Fox as a third engineer. Absolute legend. What a legend. And I think he's still
so epic.
I think he's still only about 16. But there was another bloke, Pierre, and I have no idea what Pierre's doing now. And if Pierre's watching this, I'd love to hear from him. But he was just the typical 19-year-old. He won't mind me saying he was fucking late for everything all the time. He would go to the morning meeting, like, where's Pierre? I know, went on the piss last night, he hasn't come back. He was so much morale, and I think that was actually really good for us, because it made me not take myself so seriously. And I think that's important. When you're in an environment like that, you have to take it with the humor that everything's intended. You can't take things too seriously, and you just crack on with the people around you. Obviously, there's going to be some dickheads, and we all know a few dickheads in the industry. But on the whole, I've met nothing but good blokes, and there's only been a couple of people I didn't like. Everyone knows who they are. On the whole, everyone was absolutely fantastic. On Fox, anyway, like I said, only one worked on Fox, and the crew that were on Fox at the time that I spent 5 years with, I have not got a bad word to say against them. They were absolutely fantastic. They helped me transition into civilian life, and that is, I won't go too much into it, but leaving the military, going into civilian life is way harder than anything I had to do in the military. It was so hard to transition. You've gone from an environment where you're essentially taught and told to do the worst things to human beings, and then you go into civilian street where you just act like everything's fine, and you hear people's first world problems, and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Your eggs haven't been flipped over. Get out of your own fucking head. Think about it for a minute. But then I can't take that into civilian street because I can't expect other people to, to think like that. So that helped me massively transition from military life to civilian life. And yeah, I have all the thanks and praise in the world for the captains, the chief officers, the bridge crew, everyone on that boat when I was on there.
For those that don't know, Tom and I met on Flying Fox, so I can attest to that. We had a phenomenal crew, but we could probably do a podcast entirely on your military experience. But I do find it quite interesting, that transition from the military to civilian life, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners would find that interesting too. I think it's quite well known that those that leave the military do struggle, especially if they don't have that support. We know that suicide rates are extremely high. It can be really, really tough. And the fact that you had Flying Fox, you had military guys that you were working with, as well as that civvy mix, that must have been, very supportive environment for you to be in, which is amazing. What similarities do you think you had between the military and the super yacht industry?
The structure of life. The structure of life on a super yacht. You know exactly when you're eating, well, sometimes, you know when you should be eating, when you should be eating lunch and dinner, and when you should be going to bed. I know it doesn't always pan out like that, but essentially you make your own little structure, whether you're on the night shift or you're on a bridge watch or something like that. You make sure everything in your day revolves around certain activities, and if you've got a spare hour, that's great. But 9 times out of 10, when I was on board, just like in the military, I had something to do all the time because I regimented that way, and I personally need that. I need that in my life. I need the structure. It helps me massively. I remember when I go on leave, everything would go to shit. Do you know what I mean? I had no structure. I was like, Jesus Christ, I need to get back to work. But yeah, no, leaving the military, transitioning from the military, I found it relatively easy day to day just because I did have that structure. Like I already mentioned, having that support network around me was massive. I had people around me all the time, which was huge, just like in the military. And, you don't get too much time to be in your own head. You've always got someone to talk to, So yeah, it was a relatively easy transition in the sense that my day-to-day life didn't change too much in terms of routine. I was already very versed in how to do certain things, get myself dressed in the morning, be at the right place at the right time, in the right uniform. I had a sergeant major once that said to me, he goes, "Jonesy, mate," I remember it was off the back of a bollocking. I'd been on the piss the night before and I was late or something, or I'd been arrested or something. I wasn't at the company lines on time. And I remember my my sergeant major at the time, he said to me, he's like, I was a brand new Marine at the time. He's like, "Listen, I don't give a fuck what you do. As long as you're here at the right time, the right place, in the right uniform, you can be as pissed as you want the night before." Do you know what I mean? Just make sure you're in the right place at the right time, wearing what you should be wearing. And I have taken that throughout my whole life, and so far it hasn't done me wrong. Just gives you that sense of accountability. You own your own shit. If you can't own your own shit, why should anyone else pick up your shit?
I agree. Chrissy knows why I'm so hot on that. On time, picking up your own shit and making sure that you know what you're doing. If someone gives you a task list and you can see steps 1 to 10, fucking just do them. Someone knows better than you, just fucking do them. You know what I mean? Oh, sorry. Chrissy knows.
Never be too proud to take the advice of others, that's for sure.
Yeah, I love it when the passion comes through now. I'm like, and we talk about these stories beforehand, and I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I can't even imagine. I think it would actually be harder to be an officer on board at a yacht because you've got people who are just coming off the street at 19. They don't have any military background. At least in the military, you're scared shitless of the people above you, so you just do what you're told to do.
Yeah.
But you've got 19-year-olds coming straight off of Yacht Spot or straight off the dock or whatever, and you're told to get these little fuckers in line. When I was 19, I was rubbish. I was shit, and I wasn't listening to anyone. Especially. I mean, I don't mean this with any disrespect, Nat, but when you have a
Yeah.
19-year-old deckhand, like a lad deckhand, how do you deal with that sort of stuff? Being a female in a bridge.
No, look, listen. I can actually say that I've had better experiences with the younger guys. Maybe because of the generational change. I'm not sure that they are more woke, if you want to say it, that they listen to women. I've had worse experience with older guys. Don't want to hear it from me. They don't want to hear it from any woman. They think that we don't know what we're doing. They don't believe our experience. They don't believe our qualifications. And they put you down in every single way. I've been degraded. I've been spoken back to. I've been called names. I've been shouted at. Oh, I've had a rough experience with some people. But I don't let that get to me because it's a reflection on who they are, not on me.
Definitely
And
says more about them than it does about you. You know.
oh, 100%.
100%.
100%. So it does get to you and it is a tough journey, but you kind of overcome it. I kind of block it out sometimes and I just say, fuck these guys.
Yeah, fuck them all.
Yeah, fuck them.
Come on.
In an environment like that, you need everyone to be pulling in the same direction, because if they're not, then see you later, mate. It's not gonna
100%.
Yeah.
work. In or fuck off.
Exactly.
I love that. I found your background incredibly interesting, and I didn't even think about the transitioning from the Marines into civilian life. I'm so oblivious to that because obviously I've never been through it. That transition must have been incredibly difficult. But I'm glad that you were having the people around you that supported you through it and you had that routine and structure, which you say is what you need to get through it. But going back into your career now and how you've transitioned back into civilian life, land-based, I know that you work still in security, but for ultra high net worth individuals. Are you able to share a bit more about what you do now, and now that you've left your one yacht wonder and you're now land-based?
Yeah, so I made the decision to go land based after, it's no secret that a lot of the Russian owned vessels got sanctioned. And it just wasn't the same. There was nothing for me to do in my department, essentially, as a security guy. The owners weren't coming, so it meant I was just part of the deck team. I don't want to sound derogatory towards deck guys. It just wasn't what I signed up for. I decided to make the move. And it was actually pretty daunting, because 5 years is a long time. It's all you know. I took a job in Sierra Leone in West Africa. Spent a year out there, doing quite an interesting job. And then after I did that job, I went on to cruise ships. Went back to sea as a security officer, the SSO, on board a cruise ship, which was, let me tell you, the hardest job I have ever done. Dealing with drunk Americans all day. It was horrendous. Oh my God. The stories I have to tell from the cruise ship out trump the yacht stories every day of the week. Every fucking day of the week. We had people bringing guns on board. They just think it's a normal thing to do. We've got 4,000 guests coming on in Miami, and you've got 20 of them trying to bring handguns on board. And then as a security officer, I have to go and explain to them why you can't bring a handgun on board a cruise ship. And they look at you like you've got two heads. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Can't bring this weapon on board. It's wild, mate. Honestly, honest to God, it is so insane. So when I was on the cruise ship, a lot of the clientele we had they'd all bought cheap cruises in COVID. So, they'd come on board for really, really cheap. And let's just say they were quite undesirable people that had these tickets, right? And I remember they had these all you can drink passes, and they would go up to the top deck as soon as the vessel left Tampa in Miami. They would all go to the top deck to the free bar, and they would all just get tanked. And as me with my team, a lot of the guys and girls that came on board coming out of Miami, they were gang members. You had other gang members from other gangs on board. And we were so far out of our depth, honestly, so far out of our depth. and they would start fighting on the upper deck. It was the worst,
What
honestly.
the fuck?
So I worked 3 months on, 3 months off. I did 2 rotations of that, and that was enough. It was enough, honestly. I was awful.
All right. So you're the cruise ships, and we're finishing up on the cruise ships. You said that it wasn't for you, which is understandable. I mean, fuck me. I don't think I could be dealing with guns and gangs and fights and too much intensity like that. Just not the one. So after this, you then transitioned from away from the sea to where?
So I just went straight back into the close protection industry. So I decided, going to sea, enough for me. I'm just going to be land-based from now on. I was very fortunate in my time as a Marine. There were a lot of other guys that left around the same sort of time as me, got into the same industry. Yeah, it is just all word of mouth. Everyone who in the industry, they've all been down the same path as you. So, everyone's willing to help each other, and it just escalated like that. And I was just very fortunate to get the roles I did. And yeah.
I personally believe that everything works out like it should, and we go through a lot of hardships and good things, and things roll in a plateau, and we kind of end up where we need to end up, if that makes sense. We go like different paths, and you end up the good path that you need to go down. And you've now got this really cool career where you are doing something that you're really good at, number one, otherwise you wouldn't still be doing it, and you still get to travel, still get to do things, and see different places, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. Like I said, it's not a million miles away from the yachting industry. You're still working with the high net worth people, and it just means you're just a little bit closer to them. So, when you've got guests coming on and they bring staff on with them, you're essentially that staff that comes on with them. So if there was a yacht to go to, then, I would go with the client and, then be staff on board the yacht. Obviously not a guest, not at that level yet, but maybe one day. You're just another cog in this massive machine, which makes this person have the lifestyle they have, I guess. I think the yachting industry teed me up very well to go into that. It helped me massively with the soft skills. Definitely having the soft skills around clients is massive. A lot of people leave the military and they have zero soft skills. They believe that you should probably act the same as you did in the military. If I still acted like I did in the military, I probably wouldn't have a job. So I had to learn soft skills, and luckily, the yachting industry taught me that in spades. So yeah, it was a smooth transition into close protection role. Yeah,
I remember you saying you had to wear a few different hats on one of the vessels that you worked on, or the vessel you worked on.
the only vessel.
The only vessel, sorry, one yacht. The only vessel you worked on, and one of the hats was personal training. I want to know how you got into that, and then can we take it one step further, and I want to talk a bit more about Salt Lake Fitness. Christy had spoken about how it started and how it came about. It really tugged at my heartstrings, that story. So do you want to dive into that?
Salt Lake, yeah, was sort of, as most or a lot of things were in that sort of era, born out of COVID. Obviously Christy's gone into why we started it, but how it started was we were on lockdown in the Maldives for the whole lockdown. We couldn't go anywhere for 9 months. We were stuck in the Maldives on a yacht, which was insane. It's so wild. We spent the whole 9 months anchored off of Mali in the Maldives. I'm not sure if Christy told you, but for the first 2 weeks, we were like, this will all blow over. It was great. So we were out jet skiing, water skiing, wakeboarding, and then the fuel supplies started to diminish. We had to cut right back on that, and then we were there for another 9 months. But yeah, during that time, the crew had to get super inventive with how to basically spend their time on board. There's only so much polishing and cleaning windows, rinse downs you can do when absolutely nothing's happening, and nothing's happening. You're essentially just keeping the boat in a good state, just in case something happens, right? We were in this position where, it wasn't ideal. People weren't going home. We were stuck there for 9 months, and the chief officer and the captain started putting it to the crew. Okay, well, we'll do these days. We'll like have, I don't know, a day where we've got the water sports team. We had a whole water sports department. The water sports team would put on these obstacle course races and stuff, like, you know, when what was that game show where you're jumping over these massive balls, you know, the one. Yeah, so we had a mega budget version of that, which was amazing. But it was fantastic. We just needed things to fill the days. So things, you know, started to get started to get so tough living on a yacht. Yeah, no, but you know what I mean. It was just that separation from the outside world sort of thing. And then me and
Yeah.
Christy decided we'd do some PT, and that was along with the rest of the security team. Actually, that's how it was born. We did some commando style challenges and stuff like that, and the whole crew got involved, and it's fantastic. You know, you've got a crew of 60 people all wanting to get involved because no one's fucking done anything for the last 9 months. So we're just trying to do anything we can. I tell you what, during COVID on that boat is the fittest I have probably ever got, and I thank, you know, the whole crew for that. Like we had no food coming on really, other than the random food we could get off like these, you know, dodgy little ships that would put up to the stern. So Salt Lick was born out of that, and we just decided we need to keep this going. We want to see how far we can push it. And then the season started picking back up again. People started coming back on the boat, and we were fortunate enough. The boat said to us, "Do you want to do PT courses?" Because we were taking the guests for PT anyway. And then it just sort of snowballed on from that. But we were super fortunate that it took us away from our, you know, our day job as well. So we were in the guest gym training by the guests, and yeah, we had some really, really cool interactions with some people that, you know, I would never, ever put myself in the same sphere as ever, which is insane. And, you know, you got to kind of meet them not on too much of a personal level. Obviously, you got to keep it professional to an extent. But, you know, you got to meet these people on a pretty level playing field. Quite interesting to see what they've got in the tank. And credit to them. I've never had a bad client on board. They're all fantastic.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, Salt Lick was a real outlet, I think, for us obviously, and for a lot of the crew on board, and hopefully now for many more crew in the industry. So it's been, gosh, how many years now?
We started it. Well, it was
4?
yeah, 4 or 5 years, something like that. Yeah, it's just organically just sort of bloomed into this thing. It's great.
this little baby,
Yeah.
This little baby that we're all now a part of.
No, very proud of what we've achieved. But, you know, we couldn't have done any of this without the backing of the people that helped us with it, or the people that inspired us to give it a go. So yeah, big team effort.
I think you guys done such a good I think you guys did such a good job. I think Salt Lake Fitness has helped a lot of people, not just physically, I think mentally. I think it came at a time where I needed it mentally, and you, Tom, and Christy have been so incredibly, I don't know, grounding for me, I think is a good word, for my fitness journey. And look where it's come. I mean, pretty crazy. Look at us. We've got this podcast going. We're chatting to people about their experiences, their life experiences. You guys are training so many people that are not just changing physically. I mean, look at Ed. I mean, that was a crazy transformation, who now they have these habits developed that have made them a healthier, better person. So I really think Salt Lake Fitness is groundbreaking in the industry, and I think a lot of people need it more than they realize. So I think you guys are really, really good job. Well done.
Well, and you, I think you can probably understand it more than anyone, right? Because you're now a trainer with us, and it's just so incredibly rewarding when you see the physical transformations. Yeah, that's cool. But as you said, the mental transformations and the lifestyle and habit changes that people are making and prolonging their time, their experience in the industry, that's where it hits me. I'm like, oh, This is why I do this.
Yeah, me too. I completely agree.
Obviously, Tom, you support a lot of crew members in the industry with Salt Lick. You know, you're their go-to, you're their personal trainer, their mentor, and you know, you're their friend in a lot of cases now. How do you manage, you know, having a full-time job, very, you know, high risk, close protection, ultra high net worth clients? You're running Salt Lick as a business. You are also very physically active yourself. You know, you're training for all sorts of things, which we can get onto soon. How do you manage to balance all of this?
Put me on the spot there. Well, I guess it's just about priorities, right? I don't really go out on the piss anymore. I don't really do anything other than my job. It sounds super boring when I say it like this, actually. I do my job. I train a bit of jiu-jitsu. I go to the gym, and I enjoy going to the beach and having a swim. And that's basically what I enjoy doing, those three things. So then I have time for Salt Lick as well. And, you know, a lot of these people that I do take on in a personal training aspect, I think I don't want to sound too big headed, but I think what sets Christy, and yourself, Nat, apart from other PTs who just work online, just hand out a program willy-nilly, is the fact that we have a vested interest in that particular client. We want to see them do well. We know exactly what they're going through. You know, we know exactly what they're going through on board. We have gone into the nitty gritty of taking what they have available to them on board the yacht and creating a program that we want to work for them. It's within our interest to really make it work. So I think even when you don't necessarily have the time, you just find the time, don't you? I mean, Nat, you're working on board, you know, a boat at the moment, and you're on the bridge as an officer. I imagine that's not exactly not time consuming. I imagine you're absolutely up to your eyeballs with admin most of the time, but you're still managing to get it in. And it's because you give a fuck, you know? It's because you give a fuck.
Yeah, when you care about something, you're passionate about something, you care. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Tom. You give a fuck.
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of people miss, and not just in PT, but just in life in general now. You know, but you know, I feel like there's a lack of a fuck being given a lot of the time,
There are
and
mostly no
you
fucks
know,
given. Yeah, none of them.
and you know, I think it's just becoming a little bit of a dying trait to have.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with you. I think a lot of the younger guys coming into the yachting industry just expect a lot of the time. And it's few and far between you find a needle in a haystack where those people that do give a fuck and they do care about their jobs.
Yeah, they are the cream that will rise to the top. So Gen Zers listening out there, like, even if you pretend that you give a fuck, you know, you're gonna do well in this industry. You know, you've got people above you who have grown up in an era where, you know, you have to work hard for everything you've got, you know. And if you show that trait in your day-to-day duties, you will impress people at no end.
Literally, it's all they want to see is that you care.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time people, if you work hard, you can work hard, but just because you're working hard doesn't mean you're doing a good job. So it's about the quality you output, and the quality comes from care. And that's just because you care about what you're doing. So yeah, I think it's a really good point.
And just don't be a dickhead. Don't be a
Fair.
dickhead.
Don't be a dickhead.
Don't be a
Easy as
dickhead.
that.
Basically 2 rules. Tom Jones says, give a fuck and don't be a dickhead. And I love those. Yeah, CV comes through. I care and I give a fuck, and I'm not a dickhead.
I would hire someone straight away. I am not a dickhead. Sounds. I don't even care if you can drive the boat. Do you know what I mean?
You can teach all of these skills. I think it's often said in yachting that as long as you've got the right attitude, then you'll do fine.
It's such a big thing when people look like they care. You're like, fuck, I want this person to have all the knowledge I have too. And it's a big thing. You can try teach someone. You can bring a horse to water, but you can't make that horse drink, you know?
Amen. Amen to that.
And Tom, are you training for anything at the moment in particular?
Oh, I train for something different every single week. Last week I was going to be a professional swimmer, and then I had a race against Christy in the pool, and she beat me. So I was like, "Fuck that! I'm doing something else."
This is a great point, guys. Tom's very competitive and often beats me at almost everything, but I won at swimming
And the burpee challenge.
and I won the burpee challenge.
Basically, Tom, you suck.
To only take up things that I might be like all right at, just above, below average at maybe. But yeah, I what am I training for? I've got an ultra marathon coming up in the summer in Montenegro, which is very cool. Looking forward to that. That is going to be a real tester, actually. The last one I did was in Transylvania, and that was about 2 years ago. We started at Dracula's Castle, went around the Carpathian Mountains, or up and down the Carpathian Mountains, and then ended up back at Dracula's Castle in Bran in Romania. So yeah, I don't even know why I do them. I don't even enjoy doing them. It's just me and a bunch of other guys I used to serve in the military with. We have something called a misogi. Well, we call it a misogi. It's not a true meaning of what misogi is, but we pick something that we have a very high chance of failure at. And we all choose to do this knowing full well we are all below average runners, knowing that there's a good possibility we could fuck this up and not, you pay all this money to go and do this race and fail it. But it gives us something to really focus on and work towards, because I'm one of these people that I need something to work towards. I do a lot of jiu-jitsu, but I'm nearly 38 years old. I am not exactly in my jiu-jitsu prime, so I can't imagine I'm going to be a world champion at any point. But
No, never know.
no, we know. But yeah, the ultra marathons are a great a great tester for me, just because I have this in my mind that I need to keep doing these things, because one day I won't be able to do these things. So
Yeah.
that's where I am with that.
I love that analogy. I
Mm.
really like that. I think that's something that I never really thought about. We always think about our future, right? We always think about when we get old and all that stuff. And I think that's a really awesome way to view moving your body and challenging yourself to do these things while you can and you're able to. I think I'm going to take that for my future. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, why wait? I saw it with my my mum and my dad. They waited until they retired to do things, and they wish they'd done these things 20 years earlier. And I don't want to be in that position when I'm 50 years old. I'm thinking, fucking hell, I wish I did, that marathon that I said I was going to do. Like, why not just do it now whilst I can do it, before my knees fall apart, or my hips just, I end up shitting out my hips or something. Yeah.
No, I think that's also a really good way of looking at things. And I agree with you, Nat. I think I'll take that on board too. I think every year as we get older, things physically are going to start to get more difficult, right? So why wait? You never know what's around the corner. Start now while your body still allows it. And what do they say? If you don't use it, you lose it. So keep going for as long as you can.
But saying that, it's never too late. It's never too late to start something like that. Like if people haven't started a fitness journey yet, and they're thinking about it, it's not too late. You're not at a point where you're completely useless. You're just half useless, and we'll get you going to where you are useful. So
Yeah. And my mum's in her 60s and has only just started moving now. And even, within a couple of weeks, you can see some dramatic change in mindset. And it's just, it's fantastic to see. So you're right. It's never too late.
I don't know if you mentioned it on previous episode or anything, Christy, but my sister Livia, shout out Big Liv, she's never run a step in her life, and she's just completed her first half marathon after 8 months of training. She came to me and said, "Listen, Tom, I want to do this half marathon for charity." We got her on a mega basic program, literally started just walking a couple of K a day. And literally last weekend, she's gone and run 21K. And I literally couldn't be prouder of it. It just goes to show, like, all you have to do is just apply yourself to it. Just have that mindset that I have to start doing something. Otherwise, I will lose it and I'll never be able to do it.
It's so true. I think just starting as well, just doing it, just doing the hard thing. I
Yeah.
think it's really scary when you think about like your sister went for this run, for example, starting in the beginning 8 months before. You're like, I don't know how I'm going to run 21Ks. You look at the end goal and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And instead of viewing just the end, you kind of view the process of it. I think that's really important in understanding the process and starting from the beginning, being like, I'm just going to go do a 1 kilometer walk today. Today is just 1 kilometer walk. And I think that helps having that program in place as well. So think, yeah, you've had some really good little bouts of wisdom come out of you tonight, Tom. What's going on
I think you're probably the first person to ever put wisdom and my name in the same sentence. So I appreciate that.
here?
Thank you.
You know, I'm here 24/7. Just give me a
Keep,
call.
maybe I could just like hire you as a personal hype man just to blow smoke up my ass like all day when I need it the most. Like you're full of wisdom. Like, okay.
Yeah, I'll call you like, Tom, don't worry, you're doing a great job. Wisdom.
I guess we can wrap up with some final questions. I think a really interesting one before we go on to the question we ask all guests would be if there's some young men out there, Tom, that didn't realize, the security department existed in yachting. Obviously, it's a much longer route to get there. I understand a lot of vessels only hire Marines, but maybe they're thinking of going down that path, dipping their toe in that industry, or maybe even looking at the military. What advice would you give someone that's thinking about following a similar journey to yours?
Yeah, you're right. Listen, I'm not gonna sit here and lie about it. You kind of need to be in that military bracket if you're going to join the industry in a security capacity. Saying that, it's not impossible, but I'd say 9 times out of 10, it is where you want to start off. If you're not in that background, just paying a vested interest in what the job actually is. If you've got exposure to that on board and it's something you're looking to transition, say if you're a deckhand or something and you really want to be part of the team, speak to the blokes, ask them what it is they do. If you're an ex-military bloke, it is literally just speaking to people like myself or people who are, currently in the industry doing the job. It's not a very widely recognized position. There's not a lot of boats about it. Obviously, it's becoming more and more common. There are recruitment agencies that will put these jobs out, but there are other recruitment agencies like Insignia Crew. Andrew Holm at Insignia Crew, great bloke. He specializes in putting ex-military personnel on yachts. So, I mean, that's, I'm giving him a free plug here, but he is a good bloke, and he really does dig out for the lads and get them on board boats. But yeah, it's just understanding what the role is. It's not going to be like being in the military. You can't talk to people like how you would do in the military. And just about being, like I said, part of the crew and making sure you're a good, valued member. I would say that's probably the most important part of it. And obviously, being all right at the security stuff helps too. And yeah, don't be a dickhead.
I think that's some really good advice. And you've really given a shout out to quite a few people that I think have helped with your journey within yachting and within your career. But a question that we always ask our guests on a podcast is, if you had to name one person as a mentor within the industry or not in the industry, who would you pick and why?
Do you know what? There's a couple of people that made a huge impact on me. And I'd say the first person was the first captain I worked under, Matt Dane. Absolute legend. Really, really liked the bloke. He probably thought I was a pain in the ass, to be honest. But for me, he really epitomized everything that a yachty should be. He was conscientious. He cared about his crew, which was so valuable in times when we needed it. It wasn't just there to please the guests. He would make sure the crew, he had the best interests of the crew at heart. And then I'll probably say, can I have one more? Is that all right? Secondly, was Mickey Toffs. He was the SSO on our team. He, great bloke. He really helped me transition from the military into civilian life. That was probably the most valuable thing I got from him. But also, he gave me the opportunity to work on the boat. And I look back now at my career in yachting, and I wasn't always a model yachty, but these people really did try and put me on the right path, and 9 times out of 10 did steer me in the right direction, and really, helped me with my career and mentored me, I guess.
They're two wonderful men, and I think I can agree with everything you said. And it's often difficult to see at the time, but it's lovely when we can reflect back on those times in our career and really see that these mentors or these leaders that we had were doing their best to guide us in the right direction. So that's not so nice that you had so many wonderful mentors around you.
I've got like 5 more I could reel off, but I won't. Like I said, a crew as a whole on Flying Fox, amazing people.
And Tom, finally, where can people find you? Where can they reach out if they want to know about the military, the security industry, maybe getting coached by you with Salt Lick Fitness? Where can they find you?
I think just go straight through the usual avenues of social media, stuff like that. Salt Lick Fitness, Instagram, and saltlickfitness.com. And just give me a shout. I'm not a monster or anything like that. I will reply. I might miss it by a day or two, but I will get back to you.
It's been really awesome to have you on, Tom. So thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time as well. 10 meters away from Christy, but thank you.
Well, I'm just currently sat on an exercise board at the moment. My back is killing me. I can't wait to get away.
Well, we'll let you go. And thank you again. And see you guys on the next pod.
Yeah.
See you on the next pod. Bye.
That's a wrap on today's episode.
Stay salty, stay strong, and keep moving with purpose. See you next time.